What is up, community? Sethphir here, and there has been a little bit of updates in terms of Q&A and open beta stuff. So I wanted to go ahead and find these sources for you guys as they are a bit scattered. So don't worry, I got the hard work covered, and we'll dive right in and just kind of give you the update on what you may need to know. So yesterday we did have the Twitch stream, which was a QA. It sort of was an introductory QA for people who most likely had never played New World before or were interested in checking it out. And as some of you may have pointed out in the comments, there weren't very many questions that were very focused on New World players. So we went ahead and looked around, and it turns out that Amazon is doing some things here and there, but the here and there is completely all over the place. But it's nice to see the interaction coming out from what they're doing. So we've had information from Steam, we've had information from Twitter, and just so through these various sources of the community reaching out and just kind of following up, like, hey, I saw the QA yesterday, but what about this? What about that? It seems like we have had some developer interaction. So let's go ahead and jump right into that, the first part of which will be the Steam portion of it. All right, and here we are with the Steam information, as you can see on the screen. This is in the discussion point under the New World category for Steam. So if you want to, they kind of have this like sub forum space where you can see people post. And it turns out that this particular user, Winsword, works for Amazon Games, and he does come on here very often and post a lot of just general Q&A questions and answers. So that was a bit redundant, huh? Q&A. Okay, anyways, moving on. If we can go ahead and scroll down to the important part here, he does note one point of comment, which is this. Basically, someone asked some questions about the character setups and changes and things like that. But as it goes on to state here in the post, he says he won't require any unique character setups. Folks will just play as usual. All changes will be covered in patch notes that will publish at the start to test, and it's early for him to speak on balance changes improvements, though he suspects mostly that you want to provide a list of changes you'd like to see. Balance is definitely ongoing, and you will continue to see balance tuning between now and launch. So that is the important part to take away here. It would just be this bottom section. So that means that balance is happening, like, now, and especially the mention between launch. So with that said, we could infer from this that there may be some adjustments to some weapons or something within the game that may change the way we see those things. So that is an important piece of information. If we go ahead and go back here, we can scroll down and see, because this guy posts a lot. Look at that, 58 pages of just question and answers. That's quite a lot, so I'd love to see that interaction for the community, to be honest. So let's go ahead and go to the second page here. And there was one important part, I believe it was right here, yes. So if we go ahead and look on this post, someone asked about just various questions, right? About regions, about mounts, about things of that nature. So if we go ahead and look in here, the beta has produced a lot of learnings, our servers and infrastructure, things to get the volume tester to help surface to get addressed. We are having an open beta prior to the launch to test the solutions. We all knew that. The cool part here is that we're looking they're looking into like language suggested servers, which would be like if you speak, just Spanish or something. I think this is mostly for the EU audience because they kind of have diverse languages that they speak there. So we may see like servers for each community in the future, which is kind of nice to see. And he does say there will be details prior to open beta. So that'll be coming really soon. I'd imagine in the next couple of days if they're going to make some sort of announcement like that. And the last part that he touches up on is mounts. And so he said that they are looking at it. It's been a frequent feature. He said it does impact the design of the game very heavily. So they haven't announced anything on to whether they will or will not do that with mounts. But the best thing we could take away from this is that they are looking at it, right? So at the very least, they are looking in to see what is going on with mounts and travel time. Our next section comes from Twitter. This is the Play New World account who replies to a tweet from a user that asks some questions about, what is the open beta doing? Like, what's the point of the test? And so, as you can see here, they say the open beta is an important test for server infrastructure and will feature a higher server capacity than the closed beta. It only lasts a few days, so it's crucial to help ensure the success, yada yada. Okay, so what do we take away from this? Basically, the server capacity is going to go up. So originally in, I think, the alpha, and correct me if I'm wrong, they had some notes or some comment that was made regarding around the alpha when the people were asking questions, like what is the server size? Like how many people can be on a server? And I think one person said that at least 1,000 was the mark, and I think that information got a little bit confused and people were like, oh, it's 1,000. Like, that may not be the case because I think that there was also bigger servers on the closed beta even. But now for sure here we are seeing that they are looking at higher server capacity. So what does that mean? Less queue times, straight up. That's going to be great, and you're going to allow for these really high population servers to kind of boom, and I think it'll just make the world that much more alive. So that's really nice to see. Then we'll go ahead and jump into our last part of the news. The last part of our news here is actually from a German website called Meinmmo. I will put the link in the description down below. I use Google Translate here, so some things may seem off. If you see anything about a time, just keep in mind that that's probably a European time, so don't freak out if it says something different than what you've seen. But the important part of this is this information here. So the feedback around the weak character creation was heard by Amazon. There's no options upon release. However, innovations in this aspect are planned after publication, right? So that means that they hear you, right? These character design is a little weak. We all know that. But that should be coming in the future. So that's a nice tidbit to take away from here. The other thing that we did get was a double confirmation on those language-specific servers. So, like, in this one, it talks about the German servers for people who speak that language, so they can all kind of go to one place and be around a community that, can communicate with them. The next part here would be balance problems between the factions. This is something that was addressed a lot on the forums. People were constantly giving feedback on this. There were talks of like, well, what if everyone goes syndicate, or the servers imbalance, and also the armors are different. If you weren't aware, some of the syndicate armors give things like crit for the faction specific gear and things of that nature. So I don't know how that has changed over time, but I think they have mostly covered all of that stuff. So that's what that is talking about. So they're looking at faction balance, so that's a good thing to kind of take there. Another thing would be that they're going to use this 4 weeks, or the time allotted to them for the September 28th delay, to fix exploits and server problems. So that's going to be their main focus. And then at the bottom, they do say that there's no new content on release. So keep that in mind. Nothing new that you haven't seen in the beta or were able to see. But they do elaborate and say that expeditions and new PvP content and add-ons are planned for the time after that. So that's a mini roadmap. That seems to be what their focus is on. Expeditions, new PvP content. So that should be good news for any hardcore and good, or, well, not good, but long-term New World players, because this will most likely be your bread and butter, the in-game PvE and the in-game PvP. All right, well, that should pretty much cover everything. I just want to compile some of these news sources together in one easy spot. I know the video is a little lengthy, so I do apologize on that. There was a lot of information to cover, but thank you for your continued support. And if you did enjoy this content and it saved you some time, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff, and we will catch you in the next video.